Hello again, everyone. I am back, and once again, it has been a long, hard day of work. Let me show you what I've done. So here's my large roll of fiberglass mat, and I've cut off square sections because it's too big to handle by myself. So what I did was I cut a square section like that, and then I placed it on over the gel coat. Now, if you remember from last time, I showed you that I'd put the gel coat on. So it was on, I let it set for a day, and then put the fiberglass on. Typically, I put I put resin on first, and then I put the fiberglass cloth on. But I wanted to cut this to shape. So you can see all the black lines are where I used the Sharpie, so I knew where to cut it to relieve the wrinkles. What I do is I put it on wherever it wrinkles. I take the scissors and I cut the wrinkle out. Typically makes an overlap area. Sometimes I cut off the overlap. Other times I just go ahead and let it overlap, because it doesn't matter if it's twice as thick in a couple of areas, because it's just a mold. Anyway, so that's what all those black lines were. A better way to do this is to get a piece of paper, typically like, what do they call it? Paper that you put to protect from overspray, or you can even get the heavier stuff from Home Depot that's to protect the floor, but that's a little bit heavy to use. It will work. And then you would cut a pattern for, in this case, one side, and then when you do that, you would use that and you would cut two of them out of the fiberglass mat, and that way everything's already cut for you. I didn't do that this time. I kind of wish I would have, but anyway, I didn't. So this side I pieced together. Oops, I see a spot I missed right there. I'll have to touch that up. Anyway, I went in and pieced it all together and covered the whole thing. Not the whole thing. I didn't get this back area. Bottom line, I'm tired. It's been a long day. So I got from where that cut line is, where they cut the body, to the left is covered. The center section is not covered all the way. Like you can see where the dark edge is. So it's not a whole lot I missed. But one of the areas is that license plate pocket, which is working upside down, which sucks. And by the time I got to there, I was just plain tired. Same thing with the top edge. It stopped there. I did not do the taillights there. I did do the taillights here, taillight pockets. And if you notice those little metal things that are sticking out now, what those are they are the T-nuts that you typically use when you're doing a woodworking project and you know you're going to want to put a bolt or screw in there, a threaded hole. And it has the little spikes that stick out. You can see I could have flattened those spikes out, wouldn't have mattered. What I'm doing with that is two possible options. One is I'm going to use it as an air fitting. So once this cures, I am going to get the air compressor and I am going to blow air in there. Ideally, the air will cause those two to separate. If that release compound that I used is as magical as they say it is, this thing should just pop right off. If it doesn't, it will at least help. I've got to get some, I use wedges, shims for doors, and wedge those in between once I get an edge picked up. The other thing is, if the air doesn't work, I got bolts to put in there. So when I want to release this, I can screw a bolt into this hole and it will use physical force to pick this up. I should have put these on before I did the gel coat, but honestly, I didn't think of it. And I probably should have protected the threads. Again, I didn't do that either. I should have taped it up or something. Anyway, I did use different sizes. These on this side are 1/4 20. What I was afraid of is the 1/4 inch might poke through things, which obviously I don't want it to do. But it also may fit better with the air fitting. On this other side, I use 5/16. They're a little bit bigger. So when I put a bolt in here, it would spread the load out a little more, but it also might not fit the air fitting as well. So I put 4 on each side. I matched them. So there's 1 in the back, 1 here. I tried to find the areas where typically it's hard to get things to let loose. And I didn't want it close to an edge like right here, because then it could just, the air could just come out this hole and that wouldn't do any good. So I tried to find the area that was flat and had the most surface before it reached some edge where the air would escape. So again, I did that back flat area. I did this. I did right here. And I did right there. All right, so I won't know until this cures, which is going to take several hours. And this is just, I've just put 1 layer on this like I did on the other one. Again, I did the same thing I did with the other one, and people were complaining, oh, you're going to be mold bound. Now, those that aren't familiar with what that means, it means that when you're done, you won't be able to get the mold off because of overlapping or areas that have draft or don't have draft. So case in point would be where these fenders are. The actual fender wraps underneath here and goes in, oh, I don't know, about 1 inch, 3/4 of an inch, something like that. If I would have wrapped that around, this would not come off. I have gotten away with like 1/4 of an inch going in and flexed it out enough, but this has enough curves that even that would be a challenge. Same thing here where I went ahead and followed this step. Ideally, I would not have followed that step. I would have stopped at that edge, but my feeling is I can always cut that off if it causes an issue. The reason I only did a single thickness is because this is going to be somewhat flexible. So if I have to, I'll cut a little bit off of this and flex it to get it off. What I'm thinking is that I should be able to lift it up from this side, kind of tilt it back, and most of it I think will clear. There's going to be some spots I'm sure that I'm going to find that don't clear, and again, I'll just cut them off. All I really need is the section on top of the fender flares. So I could cut it right at this body seam right here, all the way back here, and then around this edge. Maybe back up a little bit so you can see. So all of the area that curves out, and then when it starts curving in, I would cut that off. So ideally there would be a flange all the way where that body seam is. But I'm going to try to do it without it because, like I said, I think I can lift up the front and push it backwards. If not, no problem. I have no problem with trimming it to make it work. A couple things is wherever you have an edge, I leave extra material here so that when I want to get this loose, I have something to grab onto and pop this loose. So I did that there. This area up here, there wasn't a good spot. So what I did was I got some clear tape. You can use any tape you want, but ideally it will be thin. So I put some clear like box tape on here, and then I put stuff on top of it. I should have put that on again before I did the gel coat. So right now the tape is in between the gel coat and the fiberglass mat. So when I pull the tape up, it might leave the gel coat down and pull up the fiberglass mat. Don't know. If this stuff works as good as it was supposed to, this will come off, all come off, the gel coat and the fiberglass mat. But if not, it's no big deal. All right, that's pretty much it. I was going to try to use some stuff like glycerin or what is it, chopped fiberglass mat, little 1/4 inch pieces, or micro balloons, or Cabasil to thicken it up and make it to where the resin didn't run. But honestly, other than the area under there that was a pain to do, the rest of it, I didn't really need it. I didn't get the air pocket in here, but again, I was very careful to work that in. Oh, okay, it did get an air pocket there. Not a big deal, but I should have come back over that. I missed it. So that's where the Cabasil or thickening agent would have worked. I could have filled that in. So there's going to be a pocket there of air in between the gel coat and the fiberglass resin and the fiberglass mat. So that gel coat's probably going to chip off out of there. Not a big deal. It's a window pocket. I can also go back and touch it up with Mondo or whatever after I pull it off. I did put plastic down. You can see that the gel coat, and you can't tell, but there's fiberglass resin too. The problem is it's tacky, so every time I walk on it, my shoes stick to it. It's annoying, but I didn't want to get the floor all covered with that stuff. My garage floor has that. It's very hard to get up, and I didn't want to do it to his car condo. All right, I think that's it. Like I said, there is a single thickness of material all around this. So all I can do is let it cure for a day. Actually, it only should take a couple hours, but it's a little bit humid and it's late. So some of it's already cured, some of it's not. Yeah, see, so you can see some of this is cured. The glossy area is where it's not cured. I don't know why it didn't cure there. I was wondering it was taking longer than normal for it to cure, so I decided I would mix a hot mixture, which means I put more catalyst in just to see, and sure enough, it hardened before I got it down. So you can see the bottom of my container that hardened. It turns to a gel before it goes bad, or before it's finished, and it turned to a gel, so I couldn't use it anymore. If you try to use it, it clumps and you're going to cause more issues. Just throw it away. I know it's not cheap, but beats the heck out of sanding it and fighting it later. All right, that's all I've got. So it's looking pretty good. Like I said, the unevenness of the gel coat didn't really matter because I'm putting the fiberglass mat on top of it, and so that's the surface that is exposed, and then the surface underneath should be as smooth as the surface of the car. I could have done a better job there, but again, I'm kind of rushing this stuff to get it done. The owner did come by and ask me for an estimate on when it would be ready to paint or wrap, and I told him 3 months from now. Originally it was 3 months total, but I didn't realize I need to refurbish so much stuff. The car's been sitting for 15 years, and so I spent several weeks just cleaning up stuff. Oh, that's the other thing I did. The window trough, you can't see it now because it's under there, but I went ahead and got it just absolutely almost spotlessly clean. So that'll help. It should release real easy. Again, I did the same thing up here, so you can see that it's in really good shape. I could sand it and make it all glossy, but there's no reason to. I just need to make sure it's clean enough that we can put window sealer in there and ideally paint it to keep it in good shape. So prime and paint that. So I do need to clean it up a little bit more, but it doesn't have to be down to bare metal. All right, that's all I've got for today. Oh, and I did go ahead and find one of the dollies was missing. It was actually under the Triumph. The rear brakes on the Triumph are locked up. The emergency brake is what he said. So it won't roll. So we had one of these underneath. I went ahead and got it back and put this on these four because I was moving the car around by myself. And while I could do it, it was a little bit difficult with only 3 of the dollies. So I got the other dolly. All right, like, subscribe, hit the alert, hit the thanks if you want to donate. And if you don't like what I'm doing, you don't know Jack. See you next time. Bye.